doing something now that we've been wanting to do for a long time, but just couldn't, is retire the egregious earmark of the week, mostly because the puns are getting lamer and lamer every time, as all of you who have read it will attest. No, but if you can go on our website, you can see it right there. You can vote. We've now put up, as of just this morning, the 10 best worst puns and earmarks of the week over the past 5 years now. This has been going 5 years. We've rarely missed a week in the 5 years, if at all. So there are literally hundreds that we chose from, and we narrowed it down to the 10. And please vote on your best or worst, and we'll get a little more mileage out of this. But gratefully, it seems to have helped have an effect to expose what's going on with earmarks. We're going to quickly pivot as soon as this is done, and starting January, we'll start to look at the executive branch and look at the grant programs. And we'll have an egregious grantee or grant program of the week, and look at awards that are given by the Department of Homeland Security, for example, if they're giving money for a longer fire hose in some, podunk town somewhere, that kind of thing, and to make sure that people know that just because earmarks are gone, congressional earmarks, doesn't mean that bad spending is gone. There's another 98% still relatively unscathed or untouched that we hope to look at. And which brings me to the Appropriations Committee. As many of you know, I've been trying for years now to get on the panel. I've thought for a long time that the Appropriations Committee should be a place for fiscal conservatives. And it seems over the past couple of decades, about the only people who have wanted to get on are people who have wanted to somehow participate in giving out money rather than cutting spending. And it wasn't the right time, apparently, a couple of years ago. I've been rebuffed, but now the time is right, and it looks like it's going to happen. You mentioned Speaker Boehner is supportive. Others have as well. I've talked to a number of people on the steering committee. They will meet today to choose the chairman, and tomorrow we'll ratify that choice, and then the committee slots will be given out. But it looks good at this point. The next thing, and Robert mentioned it, is we're trying to establish a investigation subcommittee on the Appropriations Committee. We're not trying to say that this would be the only committee or subcommittee that does oversight. I mean, that's the job of the 12 subcommittees that are there now. They should be conducting oversight just as the authorizing committees should be conducting oversight. But I think with regard to appropriations, we're at a point there where we need to have at least one subcommittee that can do a lot of the investigations that the other subcommittees don't have time for. They'll be writing bills. That takes a lot of time and effort. And things that they don't want to touch or would rather have somebody else address. And so there are plenty of targets out there. We don't worry at all about jurisdiction, about the Government Reform Committee and what they're doing, or the other subcommittees on appropriations. We need a subcommittee that focuses on investigations. Some of you may be aware there is an institution within the Appropriations Committee called Surveys and Investigations. That's a set of professional staff and others on retainer. I think it has a budget of about $5 million a year. They do some investigations, but the information, the results are simply turned over to the other members of the Appropriations Committee, and they never come out into the light, so we don't know what they've investigated and what they're doing. And what we need, if we are going to make the cuts that we have to over the next couple of years, to come in line with what the Speaker has already outlined, $100 billion in cuts in discretionary spending, we're going to make some very deep cuts in some very popular programs. And unless we have done the groundwork through public hearings and investigations to explain why we're doing this, then it'll be very difficult to do. And so I see this, one of the main functions of this investigation subcommittee is holding public hearings, launching investigations into spending programs, and being able to justify the cuts that are inevitably going to come.
Congressman, you've been a champion of earmarks. What do you see going forward here in the new Congress with this issue?
Well, hopefully no more earmarks. I hope that we can lose that distraction and get to the real cuts that have to be made. And the House has already adopted a ban for the next 2 years.
Senate Republicans have done the same. I just hope that the Senate Democrats will come on board.
Now, not all the Republican senators were on
Right,
board with
right.
this ban. What is your feeling about that?
There are a few. I wish they would all get on board. It's going to be very difficult in this political environment. I think there's going to be a lot of focus, particularly there'll be far fewer earmarks, and so I think there'll be a lot more attention on those earmarks that are there, and I hope that that compels the Republicans to speak with a united voice here.
Okay. Well, Senator Inhofe has been one of the more
Right.
outspoken members on this.
Right.
He feels that it really doesn't matter in the long run. What's your argument about
Well,
that?
it does matter. Earmarks are very much the gateway drug to spending addiction. They leverage higher spending everywhere else. They're wasteful in themselves for the most part. I've seen of some of those earmarks that he calls necessary, and I don't think they are. And in many cases, you're taking on functions that the federal government shouldn't take on, or you're simply short-circuiting the process that we already have for these federal grants to be awarded on a competitive basis. If you're earmarking, you're simply saying, my district or my state deserves that project, whether or not they can compete for it.
Do you think that this is a political kind of an issue, or is this something that the people really want?
I think it's something that people want. I think people are waking up to the fact that this is costing us dearly. I mean, we're spending so much time and resources on these little items that it doesn't allow us to control the larger spending items. And I mean, when you're taking staff time and other resources on the Hill to do earmarking, then you're really not doing the oversight that you should.
Well, as long as President Obama is in office, how far do you think you can get with this?
Well, I mean, he has voiced support in the past. He just hasn't wanted to cross, his legislators when he needs something out of them. It's just been low in priority. Hopefully, with Republicans already agreeing and him realizing that those who have stood against earmarks have fared a lot better in elections, maybe that will portend good things for the future.